Hey, everyone, welcome back. Major warming trend is kicking off this week and right on its heels. Massive storm system next week. We're looking at the potential for some heavy snow on the cold side, maybe even a bit of an ice storm under the low pressure track. And on the warm side, heavy rain and some pretty intense severe weather. We're going to break down everything you need to know, so stick around. So first up, the warming trend. We've got a big ridge of high pressure building over the desert, southwest and stretching eastward into the plains. That's what's driving all this warmer air across the middle of the country this week, and you're going to feel it. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. So let's take a look at today's temperature anomalies. Most of the lower 48 are lighting up in those red maroon shades. That's well above normal temps for this time of year. And check out the whites over parts of South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and Minnesota. Those spots are flirting with record-breaking temperatures this afternoon. We've got a lot of 60s and 70s across the central and southern plains and down into the deep south today. It's cooler up in the Midwest, 40s in North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and the northwoods of Wisconsin. But that warmer air is pushing north as the week goes on. By midweek, we'll see mid-80s down to West Texas, places like Midland and Austin. Southern California could even hit the 90s today. Phoenix, you're looking at mid-80s. Albuquerque, low 70s. Now up in Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, it's a different story, 30s and 40s there. Thanks to a little trough bringing in some cooler air and some active weather. Same goes for the Northeast, snowpack in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York is keeping temps in the 30s. But further south, where there's no snow, those temps are shooting up fast, maybe 50s, 60s, and even 70s closer to the Gulf Coast. And the warmth isn't going anywhere through the rest of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even into the weekend. This warm pattern holds strong. We'll see a little backdoor cold front bring some cooler air to the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley this weekend, but it won't last long. Temps will bounce right back as we head into next week. All right, let's talk about the active weather we're seeing today. Heavy snow is falling in the higher elevations of the Pacific Northwest. Washington's Cascades, northern Idaho, and western Montana are getting hit. There's also some rain where it's warmer over in northeast Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and parts of Vermont, and that even extends into Quebec and eastern Ontario. Heading into Wednesday morning, some light rain, maybe even a few snowflakes could pop up around Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Chicago, and northern Indiana. Nothing major, but something to keep an eye on. By Thursday, we're looking at more of a wintry mix in the northeast and another little clipper system diving in from Canada, bringing snow to Ontario and Quebec. And by Friday, yet another system follows right behind it, dropping snow on the upper peninsula of Michigan and northern Minnesota. When it comes to rainfall, the heaviest amounts are still out in the Pacific Northwest. In Seattle, Portland, and Northern California could see anywhere from half an inch to an inch and a half of rain. South Florida is also getting in on the action with some shower activity through midweek, around an inch of rain expected. As for snowfall, it's mostly confined to those higher elevations out west. The Cascades in Washington could pick up over a foot of snow, while Canada's northern provinces, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Quebec, are looking at widespread 3-6 inch totals, with some spots seeing even more. Now let's talk next week, and this is where things get really interesting. Starting Monday, March 3rd, a big storm system is expected to take shape east of the Rockies. It's near Kansas City with a pressure 994 MB, and the lower that pressure drops, the stronger this storm gets. By Wednesday, it's a 982 MB low near Grand Rapids, Michigan. And that's when things could get pretty intense. On the warm side of the storm, we're talking heavy rain and the potential for the first big severe weather outbreak of the season. And I'm talking all hazers. Damaging winds, large hail, and even some strong tornadoes. On the cold side, heavy snow and ice are very much on the table. March 4th looks like the day to watch. The severe weather threat stretches from eastern Arkansas and Louisiana through Mississippi, Alabama, and into Tennessee. Cities like Little Rock, Shreveport, and Houston need to be on alert. By Wednesday, March 5th, that severe threat shifts east. East Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, and northern Florida will need to keep an eye out. On the cold side of this storm, we're talking several inches of wet snow from the Twin Cities down through Nebraska and possibly into parts of Wisconsin and northern Illinois. The flash flooding threat is also real, especially in places like Kentucky and the Ohio River Basin, where the ground is already saturated from recent storms. It's not going to take much rain to cause serious issues there. And on the severe side, an energized subtropical jet is going to bring plenty of instability. we're looking at the potential for tornadoes. And yes, some of those could be strong, along with large hail and damaging straight line winds over 60 or 70 MPA. The timing on this, a squall line of storms could develop as early as Thursday morning from Arkansas down into Texas and Louisiana as the day goes on. Those storms could evolve into supercells. And that's when the tornado threat ramps up, especially in Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. Now, speaking of that cold front, the Storm Prediction Center has already issued a general thunderstorm risk for Thursday, the 27th. So we'll be keeping a close eye on the potential for some stronger storms there. It's not looking like a severe outbreak or anything right now, but the ingredients are there for some rumbles of thunder and some gusty winds. One thing we'll keep seeing in these models, and this is basically the theme of today's video, is these long-lived warm-ups followed by these short-lived but pretty intense cold snaps. So keep that in mind as we move through the next week or two. It's going to be a lot of back and forth with temperatures. By Friday afternoon, that next shot of Arctic air is already come and gone, and the warmth starts pushing its way back in. And I've got to say, I really like what the National Weather Service is showing in their 6, 10-day and 8, 14-day outlooks. Those cold pockets are going to hang around in certain areas even as the east warms up, and that's thanks to the boundary set up between the warm and cold air masses. Now let's talk about this hefty clipper system moving into the Great Lakes. We're seeing a 980 ATMB low right over the upper peninsula of Michigan, bringing moderate to heavy snowfall across a lot of the region. This could end up being a pretty significant event for those areas. All right, by Saturday morning, March 1st, that system starts pushing into the northeast. But because the low is hugging the Canadian border, most of the heavier snowfall stays confined to the higher elevations and interior areas, while the coast mostly gets. Fast forward to Sunday afternoon, March 2nd, here comes another Arctic blast. But again, it's short-lived. We're talking maybe 24 to 48 hours of really cold air before that warmth bounces right back. You're going to see this pattern over and over, big cold snaps, quick rebounds. By early next week, we start seeing some action out west too. Rain for the lower elevations, snow for the mountains, pretty much exactly what you'd expect. And by March 4th, things get a bit more interesting with a low pressure system over Kansas. That's going to start sparking off thunderstorms and potentially some severe weather for areas like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. By the time we hit the afternoon of March 4th, everything just explodes. We're seeing thunderstorms firing up across a huge stretch of the South. Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and maybe even Mississippi. And this could set the stage for a more serious severe weather event. As we move into March 5th, that severe threat shifts toward the East Coast. By Wednesday evening, we're talking about the potential for strong storms from Pennsylvania and New Jersey all the way down to Florida. And behind that system, you guessed it, another big blast of cold air. And let me tell you, that low pressure system over eastern Canada on March 6th, that's one of the most intense storms we've seen all winter. We're talking about a 976 MB low bringing heavy snow and strong winds across the northern tier. By March 7th, things get even crazier. The models are hinting at a potential southern snowstorm. Now, I'll say right up front, this is still 10, 11 days out, so we're taking this with a big grain of salt. But the setup is there. There's cold air in place, a low pressure system moving through the south, knocking it south. And if things line up just right, we could see snow for parts of Tennessee, the Carolinas, and northern Georgia. Now, personally, I'm ready for spring. I'm way more excited about thunderstorms than I am about more snow, but we'll see how this plays out. As we move toward mid-March, the pattern stays the same, warm-ups followed by quick, intense cold snaps. And with that pattern comes the potential for more severe weather events. So March could end up being pretty active, especially for the south and east. One thing that's been weird, though, we're seeing a lot of disagreement between the European and GFS models. The temperature patterns are lining up perfectly, but the storm tracks totally different. And that's frustrating because when the models agree, it's so much easier to get a clear picture of what's coming. So we're going to keep a close eye on this over the next few days. There's definitely some weirdness happening with the GFS model right now. Something just seems off with its latest run. If you guys have any theories about what's going on there, let me know in the comments. All right. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a daily update. And leave a comment down below. I always love hearing your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.